Hello, welcome to King's Co-Imperial, to our first ever virtual dumpling class. This is the COVID edition. So we're offering this class in dumpling making. It's going to be in four or five parts. We're going to start with skins, then we're going to go to a vegetable dumpling, then we're going to go to a pot sticker dumpling. Finally, we're going to end with the shoulong soup dumpling, and then we're going to learn how to cook them. It's going to be a series of classes, so we're going to do each one of those little segments so you can watch at home and you can join us as you want, and always email us with questions or comments as to whether the recipes worked or not. We are also accompanying this class with a recipe packet, so if you request a recipe packet for the recipes that are discussed in this series, those will be available to you. And hopefully we're going to demystify a little bit of dumpling making process, allow you to make some dumplings at home while you're perhaps quarantined or otherwise cooking at home, and see how it goes. We apologize in advance for the crude sound system, camera system. We're just winging it with iPhones and that kind of equipment. So, that's just how we're doing it. So with all that in mind, we're going to start with skins, and here we go. Okay, dumpling skins. So for dumpling skins basically equals dough. Dumplings consist of two parts, the fillings and the skins. The skins are the dough on the outside, and the fillings are what goes in the skins. All cultures have dumplings. South America has empanadas. Eastern Europe has pierogies. Every culture has dumplings because it's a little packet of protein and carbohydrate. So it's like a little energy bomb. But I would argue that the Chinese have perfected this worldwide phenomenon to a degree that no other culture really has. And in the third or fourth class with this shoulong soup dumplings, you'll see what I mean when I talk about elevating dumpling making from a cooking pastime to a real art. In any event, we start with the skins, and again, the skins are dough, and we're going to go with the most basic skins you could imagine here, and you can feel free to riff on this to your heart's content. There's no yeast, there's no baking powder, there's just essentially three ingredients: flour, warm water, and salt. If you want a green dumpling, you can substitute some spinach for the water, etc., etc. These recipes and this technique-driven course is meant to be as basic as possible and allows you for maximum creativity in your home. So, as I said, we're going to start with flour and water. Okay, we use high protein cake flour, but you can use AP flour if that's all you have. For years, we just used the AP flour, and all of the amounts are available in your recipe packet. But I'm just going to give you a brief demo of how it's supposed to look. So we start with a little bit of flour, okay, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of warm tap water, warm or hot tap water. Now, a lot of times in the YouTube videos, and you watch other Chinese chefs making dumpling dough, they use boiling water. Okay, that is certainly a good technique. It has to do with that you do that so it it counteracts with the gluten in the flour and regulates the stretchiness of it. If you do use boiling water, terrific, but you don't really need to. We found that warm tap water works well. If you do use boiling water, use gloves. That's all I can say. Use gloves. Quiet back there. Okay, so we just take the water, we mix it into the flour, and we're just really looking for consistency here, for texture. So we don't want it to be so sticky that you can't work with it, and we don't want it to be so stiff that it doesn't have any elasticity or stretch. So it should be, if you were here by my side, I would make you feel the dough and touch it to get a sense of what the texture is. But basically, it's like, I would say, softer than pasta dough, but harder than like pancake batter. So I would say, a stiff pasta dough versus a pancake batter, somewhere in the middle. So once it comes together, you can flour your board a little bit, and you just knead it like You know, your old Italian grandmother showed you how to by turning it a quarter turn. I'll do it in slow motion. I don't know if the camera captures this. And pushing the dough with your palm back on itself. Quarter turn, back on itself. And over and over and over again. And what you're really looking for here is to get the lumps out of the dough. So, and to get a nice, smooth, elastic looking dough. So you're just going to knead it for about 10 minutes until the lumps are out. Much like if you're making pancakes, you want to stir it until your big lumps are out, and then you're done. Okay, so once you get it to that point, you want to put it back in your bowl and let it relax, okay, for about 10 minutes. And you're doing that not to let it rise or anything else like that, but just to allow the dough to relax so that you can then work with it. If you were to work with it at this point, you would stretch it and then it would kind of stretch back in on itself. And this process of letting it rest just allows it to stretch a little easier. If you wanted to put it in plastic wrap or in a plastic bag and refrigerate it at this point and work with it again tomorrow or the next day, totally fine. What I would suggest is bring it out 3-4 hours before you're ready to work with it, and let it get to room temperature, and then you won't have that stretch back on itself properly. So this is some finished dough we have done because we didn't want to knead for 10 minutes on your time, and it looks something like this. We getting that, Tom? Yeah, sort of. All right. Anyway, if you've made gnocchi before, the next step in this process is to make a rope. Okay, so in gnocchi making or different pasta making, you make a rope, which is basically like this is going to determine the size of your dumplings and the consistency of them. So the rope goes like this. You're just looking, I think in the recipe it says, I don't know, like a ½ inch or something. You're looking for something like a ½ inch diameter, maybe a little smaller. It doesn't really matter the size of your rope. It does matter that it's consistent all the way around. So if you do it on your board, you want to go from the center out, and that will allow you to get a nice even rope, or you can do it in the air like I was doing it, but that's a little bit more challenging. So once you get something like that's nice and even all the way across, something like that, you're ready to go. And again, you're just doing this so that you have consistent, even skins, so that all your dumplings are relatively the same size, and basically they're uniform. Once you do this, you're going to take this rope and you're going to cut your actual skins. So we're going to go about, I think maybe ½ an ounce or a little less, but you can just eyeball it. Again, the goal is to keep them the same size. Okay, so when you're done, you got something like this. Put these on a plate for you so you can see. And this right here is 3, 6, 9, 10 dumplings. Huh. Okay, so you got something like this. It might be a little oblong or not perfectly round because of the way you cut it, which is fine. I like to try to get it round before I make my actual skin, so I just put it between my fingers and kind of make it like a little eye in between my thumb and my forefinger. Some people like to roll it and make little meatballs. That's fine, but you want to get it as round as possible now. So you get these a little round, and then you're just going to take the back of your palm and put a little flour on it if you want, and smoosh it down. So this is what we're looking for, like a silver dollar shaped little piece of dough. And you see how, because we made our rope, they're all relatively the same size, which means we're all going to have similar size dumplings when we actually start to roll out our dumplings. So there we go. We got skins. Okay, now this is what separates. I don't know. I'm not an expert in all dumpling making traditions. So I'm not going to speak to other traditions, but the Chinese way, we need this kind of a rolling pin. Okay, this doesn't look like your grandmother's big rolling pin with 2 handles, and you're going to see why. This is a Chinese rolling pin. It's specifically designed for dumplings. See, we have nice branded ones here, which I think you can maybe buy them at some point. If you take one of our dumpling classes in person, you get to take one home for free. Anyway, enough car salesman shit, but that was that. But so these are available in Chinese groceries. Again, that you can get them through us too, or you can, lop off the top of a broom handle, but that might have some toxicity issues. But anyway, it's basically a dowel, okay? And the reason we use this is because we're looking for a very specific kind of dumpling skin. We're looking for something that's very thin on the edges, but has a little bit of weight in the center. Okay, so the center is thicker than the edges. And for that, it's a very specific technique. So again, we put a little flour down on our board, take our little silver dollar piece of dough that we smashed down with our palm, put it down on the board, and we're going to take with one hand, we're going to roll about 3/4, no, not quite halfway into the center of the coin, and then out, and then turn the coin. And we're going to go around the dumpling like that. So basically you got a nice thick center, and you got nice thin edges. That does a few things. As you can imagine, when you fold it and crimp it, your sides won't be much thicker than your bottom. And the second thing it does, very important for cooking shoulong bao or steamed dumplings, this little divot or thick piece in the center will hold your filling and it won't break. So we just go around like this. If you could feel it now, you would see that basically there's like almost like a little nub in the center of this skin. So you do that with your skins. You just take them and you can go slow. This is kind of a little bit faster version, but you go nice and slow just to make sure you get it round. And you want it to be as round as possible. If you find it squared off on a certain side, like this one's a little square, you can just put a little more pressure on it and roll it out. Now with these dumpling skins, you don't need any egg wash or water or any kind of slurry or anything. These will stick on their own. One other important thing to keep in mind is, as you're rolling these out, unless you're doing them super, super, super fast, you can keep a kitchen towel handy and just keep them covered with a kitchen towel so they don't dry out. And yeah, that's it. Dumpling skins.